Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 3 in the best of 3 between Walther and Player in the semi-finals of the Steel Division League Code S. Today we are going to be seeing Bois de Limors, and on the Allied side Walther is using the 2nd Armoured French, and on the Axis side Player is using the 17th SS-Panzergrenadier once again. So this series has certainly been one to watch. If you haven't seen the first 2 games, then I would definitely recommend you do so. But spoiler alert, in the first game, Walther did defeat Player with the 4th Armoured versus the 17th SS Panzergrenadier, so we're going to have to wait and see if he can do it again in this one. But in the second game, Player managed to use the Guards Armoured to defeat the Festung Gross Paris, even though Walther towards the end of that game was looking very, very strong. So both of those games really close, and I don't expect this one to be any different. So 2nd Armoured, what can we expect? Well, early on, Phase A, Phase B, that's where the aggression comes from the French. They have the Stuarts, they have, of course, the Shermans that come in Phase B, and if Walther can build on that and get himself a good lead, then he should be in a really good position to take the game. The only thing that I can see where Walther will fall down is infantry availability moving into the late game, especially against the 17th SS on a map like Bois de Limors, where the forest on the top side is actually a rather large part of the map. So that's where Player may be able to exploit this one, use the Stostrup alongside some Nebelwerfers, really make a lot of ground in that forest, and really take the game to Walther. So I think both have a really good chance here with the divisions that they've chosen to make a good fight of it. Let's have a look at some of the units going down. So on the side of Walther, we are going to be seeing 2 M8 Spies at the start. There's also going to be the M3A3 following that up with a command. We see the M20 with some recon. There's also going to be some Pioneers here with the Voltages following up. Other than that, it's just flamethrower squads. We're going to have flamethrower squads holding the forest on the top here. That isn't something I expected to see. I thought I would potentially see more Pioneers maybe contesting the forest early on, because they can deal with Stostrup quite nicely. The flamethrowers on the bottom side though, that's to be expected if he doesn't want to push in this area. He can quite simply just have a flamethrower squad sit in these forested areas and then maybe push on the bottom side of the forested area. At the top, that might be the plan here for Walther. We'll have to wait and see when the game actually starts, which it has just done. Yeah, he's going to be following this road to the bottom side of the forest. So, on the other side of things, Player is using multiple Stostrup. He has 1, 2, 3 Stostrup? No, only 2 Stostrup. There is 3, sorry. With 2 units of command and a Panzergrenadier at the top side there. Further down we see the 221 with the Aufklärer. That's going to have a Pak 38 nearby and the 223 providing command. There's also going to be some Panzergrenadiers for the middle of the map. On the bottom side we see another Pak 38, actually 2 Pak 38s with some Stostrup and the 223s. And then we have the Panzergrenadiers following up. So it looks like Player, what he's trying to do here is get a bit of command onto and around his Pak 38 so that he can prevent any potential hard push at the start of the game that comes out from Walther. And that will be definitely very important on the top side here. So we'll have to wait and see how the Pak 38 is used, because I distinctly remember the Pak 38 being extremely strong in the previous games. So, Stostrup here, they are going to manage to get into the tree line, but that Pak 38 unloaded and going to be absolutely demolished by 50 cal fire. The M8 Spy getting on top of it. Will they manage to take it out? No, they will not. It gets out of line of sight and will be safe for the time being. 221 is going to manage to take out the WC-52. That did actually kill off the Pioneers that were inside, so that was a pretty big loss actually for Walther there. Got to be careful the same doesn't occur to the Nueve, but the Stostrup there, they've been taken care of. The flamethrower squad actually found them and helped get them mowed down by the 50 cals. Now, having all of those units shown on the top side, especially 2 M8 Spy and an M3A3, it sort of reveals that on this bottom side there isn't too much for Player to worry about, and he's certainly going to take advantage of that with the aggressive push here from his Stostrup and the Panzergrenadiers. I really hope though that he doesn't unload these in these positions, because he could make so much more ground towards the flamethrower squads. Pak 38, can it manage to get the kill? No, it cannot. 3-star M8 Spy, not going to miss anytime soon. Managed to get the 50 cal on target, job done. Stoss Troop, they take out 1 unit of flamethrowers, take out 2. If that was like a pioneer squad, then the flamethrowers would actually fire, and then the Stoss Troop would just straight up lose. But when there's only 2 men in the squad, the Stoss Troop are mighty efficient with that 18 HE. So the 221, 223 taking cover here. Oh, the M8 Spy there ripped to shreds that Stoss Troop squad in the trees there. And the 221, that's going to be having a go at the M8 Spy at close range. It actually misses. The M8 Spy also misses, but the 50 cal gets the job done. 223 has no chance here, and it looks like Walther may be finding himself a breakthrough early on. Player not really making much ground on the bottom side. I was actually really disappointed that he unloaded, because this is a very common strategy from the French right now, where they rely on these flamethrower squads to hold the front line, whilst they make a concerted effort on one side of the map. So I am really surprised that player didn't identify that, but either way, he is making some good trades with his infantry. He just cleaned out the flamethrower squad on the top side, and he does still have control of the forest in general, so a lot of these flamethrowers are slowly but surely being dealt with. Just the same happened here. Stoss Troop taking out another flamethrower squad. That one actually managed to get the better of the Stoss Troop a little bit, because I think it probably had the cover bonus. But either way, infantry engagement's going in favour of player. The only trouble is the armour is not, and the M8 Spies certainly driving through here are going to find another Pak 38, and that is pinned down. It looks like player's going to have to be really careful that he doesn't have his reinforcements cut off from the start of the game. I believe we saw it in the second European tournament. Gonzo versus Volhati actually managed to stop both reinforcing lines from Volhati in the final. Last game, I think it was. Gonzo just absolutely asserting his dominance. Is Walther going to do it here to win this best of 3? Because it's all on the line, really. Flamethrowers, Voltigeurs, they're going to take out the Stoss Troop here. M5 half-track's going to be forced back by the Pak 38. So that's going to remove that support. There's also another Pak 38 there that will be able to clean that up. And once the Panzergrenadiers get into line of sight, the Voltigeurs and the Flamethrowers will be at the mercy of the 223. But it's really up to us to keep an eye on these vehicles that are continuing to push forwards. Player's done a good job to get some Stoss Troop into these buildings. Without the use of infantry recon, it's going to be actually pretty hard to discover the Stoss Troop until it's too late. If you try and use the M8 with its recon to discover a infantry squad in a building, you're going to have to be within the AT range in order for that to occur. So that's not exactly something that Walther's going to want to do here, and it seems like he's changing tack. He's actually going back up the road and will be trying to cut off the bottom side. Now an M8 Spy has come in. That's actually managed to get hit by the Pak 38 here. Track will destroy and fallback means that's a very dead M8 Spy, unless the flamethrower squad can get the smoke down. That is absolutely crucial, because this M8 Spy is going to be able to fire back once again. Doesn't quite manage to get the job done. Pak 38 free to fire. Will eventually hit, surely. 223 going to just basically end this sooner than later with the surrender by just driving towards it. Same with these Voltigeurs. Looks like they're going to be pinned down by the Panzergrenadiers, and that will free things up on the bottom side. But here comes Walther's train of death, the M8 Spies and the M3A3s just freely driving through the countryside. Nothing really to stop them right now. Meanwhile, we have a bit of contention up in the forest, but with these M5 half-tracks and the WC-52 getting involved, I don't think these Panzergrenadiers really want to be stood on the edge of the forest there. On this top side, they're actually going to find the flamethrower squad. Taking those out might actually end up cutting off these units on the bottom side. But Walther, I think he really is trying to go for the land spawn here. He's basically moved down to the bottom side to avoid the 2 Stoss Troop that had been brought in, and that could be a really smart move. However, player, he might just be smarter. If he can get the Panzerwreck into cover, then he should be able to take out one, but he doesn't manage to. The M8 Spies and the M3A3 is now accompanied by a Spitfire. On the top side, we can see the Nueva taking out a Pak 38, and now the Panzergrenadiers are going to be engaging those. Panzergrenadier, they're being taken on by Pioneers, and I mentioned how Pioneers would do a lot better in this scenario than those two-man flamethrower squads, and you can see that happening here as they have taken out the Stosstroop previously, and now the command on the top side. Stosstroop have gone down to the Pioneers as well, and the Panzergrenadier now under threat. So player, what does he have to do? You've got to get this 3-star or 2-star Stug on the field, give it some command. It's 3-star, and this can be an extremely deadly weapon, but doesn't look like Walther wants to deal with that today. Instead, is going to be driving back towards the front line. I'm not entirely convinced this is the right move. I think 2 M8 Spies and these M3A3s could easily overwhelm the Stug 3 and then just take the spawn straight out from under player, and that would allow him to control the battlefield greatly for the rest of the game. I think these units are in exactly the right position. Yes, they may be a bit cut off down here, but as long as they're affecting the front line, that's all that matters, because it will cut off the spawn. So I'm very surprised that Walther's actually sending these units back, especially where he knows that there are 2 AT guns, since one has already taken out his M8 Spy, and this one revealed itself by firing at the M5 half-track. So Walther should know that both of these Pak-38s are in position, and driving all of his armour towards them seems like a very bad idea. Again, Pak-38 going to be taking advantage of the M8 Spy here, finds the internal fire. Can he find the actual kill with that? We'll have to wait and see. Doesn't look like it's going to be the case. I think the Pak-38 actually changed its aim because the M8 Spy was falling back to actually fire at the Jeep instead. Now going to be having to go at the M5A1 half-track. At this range, I'm very surprised it missed, but it did. Now we see the M8 Spy coming in from the bottom side. His flanking attack, will it work? Pak-38 has got the better of the M5A1 half-track. 223 was used to surrender it once again. This Pak-38 in a really good position actually to ambush these at close range. The M8 Spies, though, they're going to try and clean up this 223. That's going to be a bailout with that shot. Pak-38 now coming into line of sight, going to be taking a shot. What player wants to do here, though, he probably should allow his AT guns to fire at the same time, because it's very difficult for Walther to pin them both down. Maybe Walther feels quite confident about controlling this road with the M3A3, but with the Stug 3 arriving, if it drives with its gun facing forwards towards the M3A3, as soon as it comes around the corner, it will be able to take a shot almost just as quickly as an M3A3. It looks like the Stug will get the shot off first. It misses. Stug 3 gets the ammo storage hit. That's all he needed to do. If he continues to drive forwards here, keep the pressure onto the M3A3, the M3A3 is toast. It's not firing back. Bit of a miss micro there from Walther. He's going to lose the Stuart. So, weapon jam onto the M8 Spy as it makes a retreat. The Pak-38 does manage to find that hit, but job is done for Walther. He's managed to surround these 2 AT guns and the Panzergrenadiers that were assisting. M8 Spy going to be able to help pin those down. Pak-38's though still a threat to any future armour that comes in this direction. The only trouble now is what Walther has done is allowed this Stug 3 to get into a better position down here in order to keep him back. And if this sort of lines up in order to cut off this tree line, then the M8 Spy and the M3A3 can have a real hard time taking this out. So I think Walther's kind of missed a trick, cutting off the spawn down here from player, but decided to go back on himself, and now he's actually ended up losing his M8 Spy here to the Pak-38s because they are still not taken care of. And he also took a weapon jam onto this M8 in the process. Now this M8 is under fire from the Stug 3. That could have been a well-used bait actually for the other M8 and M3A3 to take shots of the Stug 3, but not something that Walther's actually used that for, and I can't help that Walther's really throwing away his chance to just completely dominate this game. Now of course he is going to end up cleaning up the Pak-38s here and the Panzergrenadier squads, but I just feel like this shouldn't even be a position that player can get into. He is going to use the smoke from the Stosstroop to defend this Stug 3 that has been internal fragmented. Player needs to fast move that the hell out of there if he wants to keep it alive. Stosstroop though that have moved in will be able to get into these buildings. Now what might actually happen here, since Walther has seen himself kill the Stosstroop, is he might end up driving through that thinking that they were the Stosstroop that put down the smoke. Unless he saw, of course, they weren't unloaded when the smoke went down, in which case he could identify that they weren't. But either way, Stosstroop being in that position is going to stop any more progress from Walther for the time being, and the Stug 3 has managed to get out. The Pak-38 is still hidden, well, not for long. Looks like the Nueve, or the flamethrower squad, gave away the position, and the Spitfire Mark 9 actually failing to strafe that to death. Panzergrenadiers in position. They are going to be looking to defend the Pak-38, but not going to be in range just yet. Stosstroop actually managed to take care of the flamethrowers that come in on the bottom side, and, well, after so much excitement at the start of this game, I think Walther definitely threw away a lot of potential with the positioning of his units. He found a massive breakthrough on the top side and just drove it down to the bottom, which was a good idea because I thought heading for the land spawn was great. But then he didn't. He turned around when the Stug 3 came in, when he had 4 versus 1. Which is really something where you, even if you sacrifice 2 M8s or 2 M3A3s, and as long as you win, you control the battlefield from basically like 3/4 of the battlefield, because your opponent only has one place to bring in troops. So that was just, yeah, a missed opportunity. Not really going to say it anymore, as we do need to focus on what is now coming in. We are into Phase B, and the M4A2 and the M4A76 are on the field. These can definitely be the final punch that Walther needs to win this game, as long as he uses them correctly and supports them with enough infantry. But what we haven't really been talking about is player throughout so far has actually been trading quite well with his infantry. So on this top side, he has got control back. He's used Sturm Pioneers, he's used his Panzergrenadiers to take out the assaulting Pioneer squads that were pushing forwards. You can see there's one man left in this one. But having control of this forest is actually really important, because it gives him a way to reinforce the map without being like under threat too much. And as long as he can control this road, which he has a Panzerschreck to do, he can still reinforce quite nicely. And of course he still has the reinforcements coming in from the bottom side regardless. So it's only 53% territory now for Walther, but he has racked up 1,092 points. So Walther in a pretty good position, regardless of the fact that I think he definitely missed an opportunity. But the Spathergroup here, they're going to be taking on the Nueve. The MG should be able to pin down the Nueve in the open, and the Nueve will struggle to pin down the Spathergroup in heavy cover. So 221, that's going to be coming in to help with the Nueve, but can't really, I'm not entirely sure why that's heading in that direction. Doesn't have a machine gun or any HE value for that matter, so it's going to be solely reliant on one of these infantry squads to pin down the Nueve if the 221 is going to be used to surrender. On this top side, the 232, that's going to be trying to take on the Nueve. As soon as the M5 half-track falls back, the M5A1 here, these Nueve will surrender, and then the 232 that can take that out. So that's going to be a 6-man Nueve squad cleaned up, and that is not ideal for Walther. He needs to keep his infantry alive at this point, because as the game continues, he's going to have less and less infantry to reinforce himself with, and so you don't really want to get too carried away. Now, saying that, if Walther has volunteers on his division, this could actually turn around on the forest area in the late game in Phase C. But this forest is an absolute death trap for the late game. If you start committing into this forest too late, then basically all you're doing is wasting time, because it's very, very slow to run infantry from one side of the forest to the other. So depending on how much ground player has already taken by the time that Walther tries to fight back, it may not be worth it at all, and Walther would be much better off trying to take control of the open ground on the bottom side with things like the M4A376s and the M4A3, like the standard M4A3s with the 2-star veterancy. Saying that, did the one on the bottom side die? There was another one here, the M4A2, here it is, up in the forest. I thought there was 2. Either way, P-38, that's going to be coming in for the rocket strike onto the Pak-40 here. Once that's pinned down, the Sappers may be able to finish it off. These P-38s, they don't actually do too much damage, they're just really good for pinning down light units. Spitfire Mark 9 going to be coming in for the strafing run on the bottom side. Looks like the Stug 3 has been recovered. The Opel Blitz munition came in with the ammunition to fix the internal fragments. And now the Stug 3 is pushing forwards aggressively. M3A3 has been revealed by the 232. Oh, the 232 actually found the kill though. That's so damn important. The M3A3 goes down there. That opens up the bottom side of the map here for player. And with a little bit of luck, he will find himself a +1. That is so damn important. Now he's got to get rid of this extra salient that Walther has found on the bottom side. Can be moving the 222 into that, or 221, sorry, into that gap, reinforcing it with a couple of Panzergrenadiers. We've actually had an insane match so far. This has been absolutely crazy and action-packed. Doesn't get much better than this, guys. Panzer IV now moving into the top side to take on the M4A2. M4A2 will get the first shot off. The Panzer IV actually hits the mark, but doesn't penetrate. We're going to have to keep an eye on this engagement. Internal fragments is going to make that go completely in Walther's favour. Can the Panzer IV get out of the way in time? It can. M4A2 does not get another chance to fire. Panzer IV is going to have to fall back, and the Opel Blitz munition that's on the field is going to have to start heading to the top side. But Walther here going to be able to intercept it if he can with the Nueva in that position. 232 going to be engaging the M8 Spy. This M8 Spy at range does actually have the upper hand onto the 232, as the 232 will struggle to penetrate through front armor at 800 meter range, as it only has 4 AP at that range. The Stug 3, however, is in a good position to take on the M4 or the M8 Spy. So if that moves into line of sight, then the M8 will die. Walther knows it, he's falling back. But the M4A3 76 is going to be coming around the corner any second now and engaging the Stug 3, which is definitely going to be favourable to the M4A376. And apologies for my voice, but that's going to be the Stug 3 going down there as I am losing my voice. Crazy, crazy stuff. M4A3 gets the job done. Starstreak here, unfortunately, falling prey to the M8 Spy as they run across the open. On the top side, Panzer IV, that's going to have to get out of the forest sooner than later. It can't really creep through. Actually, I think it can creep through the top side, so that may be a way out for player. Oh, the Panzerschreck. It's actually managed to get close enough to the M4A2, and it's hidden itself just in time to get another shot off. It's going to find the kill. That is very important. That's an M4A2 down in the forest now. M4A3 is under threat if it stays near that forest. There is a wall of sappers that the Panzerschreck will have to get through, but still provides some threat towards that top side. And all the while, player is now sitting on a +1. Once again, these sappers going to find themselves pinned down, but the grenade kills the Starstreak as the sappers get surrendered. That is just not something you see very often. Crazy stuff. Starstreak going to be going down. And that's going to get rid of this extra salient that player had. That could have potentially opened up into a massive salient for player if the Starstreak was still alive. Now we're going to be seeing player rely on the Pack 40 here. That's going to be engaging the M8 Spy. He does manage to find the kill. I don't think the M8 Spy could have got much closer because the 232's here. But look at this. Sappers have moved into the tree line. I don't think they've broken through the tree line just yet. Won't be able to engage the 232 with the bazooka just yet. The Spade Troop do actually manage to pin down the sappers though. So that is insane. 232 is going to have a chance to move away from those. Doesn't want to hang about. Bazooka in the face does not sound good. Either way, on the top side, sappers going up against Starstreak once again. Will the grenade happen again? It will. And the same thing happened. That's insane. There is no way that we see this twice in a row. The sappers surrendering and the Starstreak blow up. Crazy, crazy stuff, guys. This is just insane. Okay, so now we've got some more reinforcements coming in for player, but how long can Walther trade sappers for Starstreak? I feel like player is going to have more infantry availability overall, but we do see some GMCs on the way. These could be the volunteers I was talking about. I'm not entirely sure, but if they are, that's going to be very scary for player to deal with. The volunteers are 20 HE infantry squads with 12 men. So very difficult for the unit of the 17th SS to break through. But player here going to be relying on some off-map, 170mm off-map. Sapir is going to get the better of some Starstreak again. Are they going to get surrendered? Yes, they are. Of course they are. And now the sapper's going to have to fall back as the off-map falls. And that's going to give some more ground to player. I'm really interested to see what's in these GMCs. Either way, on the bottom side, some reinforcing AA is going to help this Pack 40 stay live under any strafing runs. This Opal Blitz, it actually got captured. I can't believe it. The best thing here would be for Walther to turn off the supply so that it doesn't actually supply something when player gets his hands on it again, if he gets his hands on it again, because as far as player knows, that doesn't exist. But if we go to player's perspective, he just thinks he's lost it somewhere. He doesn't know where it is. He can't see it. Like, Walther's just hidden it when that was going to head to the top side and potentially resupply the Panzer IV, and instead players had to invest another 50 points to get this Panzer IV going. That's insane. So even in the back line, things still happening, and that's just incredible. Okay, well, across the board, I think players in actually a pretty good position. He has this bottom side well defended, and in the forest he's doing pretty well, but these are indeed volunteers, and that does mean that the Stoßtruppe and the Sturm Pioneers will be under threat. However, the off-map, it is doing work, and it is going to be coming down onto these volunteers, allowing the Sturm Pioneers and Stoßtruppe to get the better of them regardless of their power. We can see the BEO, that's going to be pushing through on this top side, 232, that's going to be engaging the M3A376. The 76 does manage to face front armour versus both of the 232s. Does mean it will be able to take them both out potentially. Driver knock for the M4A376. Stoßtruppe are running into range, trying to get the Panzerfaust on target. If the M4A3 stays in position, the Ju-87 might just find the kill, and it does. Spitfire Mark 9 comes in, shoot down the Ju-87 at the same time. We have the P-38 Lightning coming in with the rockets onto the BEO Panzer, and that is just absolutely crazy, guys. Bunch of plays there. Ju-87 just about manages to get the job done. I feel like the Stoßtruppe would have anyway, but two 232s went down. Then we saw the Ju-87 get shot down by the Spitfire, and the half-track there going to get surrendered by that rocket strike. M5 half-track now able to stick around and pin down the Panzergrenadiers in the open. Panzer IV coming into the fray is going to come up against the M4A2 once again. So we have a Panzer IV M4A2 matchup that we're going to have to keep an eye on. On the bottom side, the Pack 40 did get pinned down, but of course the AA is in position to force back the Spitfire. So that is what happened. Now Spitfire Mark 9 coming in with the bombs on the top side. That's going to be trying to get rid of this Panzergrenadier that's been crossing in the open. Bomb hits on the mark, and that is one dead squad. Sturm Pioneers continuing to chase down some sappers that got away. But these volunteers, now that they've fully recovered, are going to be very, very difficult to deal with. Panzergrenadiers, one of them's falling back down here. We have the other pinning a couple of volunteer squads. One thing that's not good about the volunteers is when they fight at range. Honestly, having to rely on volunteers in this situation is really not ideal, because their Kar 98s give them away, and they also have like zero combat effectiveness past 100 meters. So when you're trying to get them from one tree line to the other, the Panzergrenadiers are going to rip you to shreds. Pack 40, it is live once again, going to be taking shots at the M20, but I think the idea here is to bait the Pack 40 to fire so the M4A3 can get into position to take a shot. Not actually going to risk it after all that. Crazy stuff. Up on this top side, IG-18 now coming in to support the infantry as it advances. But one good thing that player has identified is he can keep a Panzergren here, and as long as he doesn't allow the volunteers to engage at the 100 meter range, he should be able to mow them down with the MG42s. So that's what he's going to be relying on. We see a Ju-87 coming in for the bottom side. If that can kill the M4A376, then player's going to be able to continue the aggression here. This M4A376 though going to be trying to find a shot onto the 221 player, actually gets that out the way. Ju-87 going to be going for the kill onto that M4A3 instead. Reveals itself with the 50 cal. Spitfire Mark 9 might be able to find the kill there. Ju-87 I think too slow to get out, and the Spitfire plenty of time to loop back around. Another Ju-87 is going to go down, and when these Ju-87s don't actually manage to get a kill, they are very, very costly. So Marder 3 here, going to be running down these volunteers. using the machine gun with the Pak-40 HE to get the job done. SDKFZ-72 going to be forcing back the Spitfire for the time being. Panzergrenadiers also moving up in support of the Marder 3. P-38 Lightning coming in with the rockets to pin down the Pak-40 for the time being. May allow the M4A 376 to drive around the corner and engage the Marder 3. I'm actually very surprised that Walther hasn't done that with that rocket strike coming in, because if he knows that he's pinned the Pak-40, there's no reason why a Marder 3 should beat an M4A 376 at that range, so it's something he could easily take advantage of. And to me, honestly, for Walther, it seems like a tale of missed opportunities and players kind of just making the most of it. The fact that he's managed to stay in this game is an absolute godsend, and he is making the most of it. So this is what I was talking about with the positioning of the Panzergrenadiers. Really, really strong positioning of the Panzergrenadiers here by a player to take on Walther. Now we see the M4A3 engaging the Panzergrenadiers. Pak-40 isn't actually being told to fire. It did have a chance there to shoot the M4A 376. I think player missed a trick. Does require some command though on this bottom side if you can get some, because giving that the Pak-40 the extra 1 star would be really, really useful. Stern Pioneers, they're going to be taking out that flamethrower squad. Now they're going to be moving on towards the Volunteers. Stern Pioneers are probably the only squad that player has access to that can actually defeat Volunteers at close range, so that's what he's going to have to rely on. Panzergrenadiers have finally made the cross. They were chasing down the 6-man Volunteer squad. Looks like they managed to recover though for the time being. 221. Going to come under fire briefly, going to fall back. Marder 3 needs to get away from this tree line, because if that's another sapper squad coming in, that could be a bazooka in the face very shortly. Pak-40, going to be aiming. Not quite hitting the mark just yet. Spitfire Mark 9 coming in with the strafing run onto the Marder 3. I possibly think here, Walther thinks that he's killed the Pak-40. The Pak-40 is live. It takes a shot, it misses. Marder 3 went down with the initial shot from the M4A 376, and having it miss is awful because the 50 cal is going to pin it down, kill it off, and that's the Pak-40 and the Marder 3 that were defending the bottom side gone. SDKFZ-72 is in trouble, going to have to fast move the hell out of there. Stug 4, however, on its way to fill the gap, so may not be the end of the world, and Walther is currently sitting on a +1. Now, having these Volunteers come in, it does tell me that Walther is actually pretty low on infantry, because when you do have to start relying on those Volunteers over the sappers, then you're basically having troubles with availability in general. But M4A 376 here, 2-star veterancy, gets the better of the Panzer IV. However, I believe the Panzer IV must have killed the M4A2 that was here previously, because I no longer see that on the top side. So it looks like Walther's managed to get one back on player. The Volunteers, Panzergrenadiers trying to chase those down, may not be the best bet. 3 Volunteers versus 3 Panzergrenadiers. I feel like the Volunteers would win any day. Stern Pioneers, can they kill off this Volunteer? Yes, they can. Flamethrower does the job. I mentioned how they'd be the only squad able to kill the Volunteers, and they managed to do so. But with this forest being held on the top side here, player has managed to hold on to this +1. And at this rate, with 9 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock, player is going to draw the game with Walther. So player is going to be looking for a +2 in order to secure his lead. But can he find it? Because I think player is going to be having just as much infantry availability problems as Walther is right now. And I can tell because of the amount of spear troop that are being brought up to the front line. You've got 2 squads on the bottom side, you've got 3 squads on the top side, and then you have 2 more squads coming in. So it looks like players really starting to rely on recon infantry as his front line. And that is bad news. So what can player do about this? It's not the end of the world. If he starts investing his points into Stug 4s now, he can actually make really good use of an abundance of recon infantry. So that's what I hope to see. Pak-43 is on the way to the bottom side here. Will definitely be useful for killing the M4A 376s. And the M4A2 here that has now come in with the off-map. This off-map is going to be bad news for the Pak-43. Stug 4s are really where it's at this point in the game, where your opponent is most likely to have the most counters. Stug 4 with the high front armour and the 1200 meter range is actually the most ideal unit for being able to shrug off airstrikes, being able to shrug off artillery, while still being able to engage the opposing armour with some sort of significant force. So I think the Stug 4s definitely should be invested in more than anything else. Nebelwerfer 42 in the forest here, going to be opening up towards these sappers. Poor sappers got it coming. One squad here on its lonesome. It's going to be wiped out surely. If not, then it's most likely to be surrendered, but not by much, because the Speertroop and the Sturm Pioneers have been taken out. So it's going to be up to the 232 to find that surrender. And having taken out that sappers actually will definitely make things difficult for Walther to hold the forest here. 232 pushing through the fire. Going to be able to catch that half track. Panzerschreck actually takes out the M20 here. M4A2 going to be using some off-map to try and find and kill that off. E38 Lightning trying to come in with the rocket strike, or even just a strafing run onto the 232. Honestly, this M4A2 will be in trouble if the 232 gets on top of it, because the 232 can penetrate an M4A2 at close range. Pack 43 has come in, it has been spotted, so it's going to take an off-map strike to the face. Stug 4 needs to stay alive on this bottom side, else this M4A376 is really going to start making ground. Off-map did come down here, but the Panzerschreck's still live. Here comes an IG. 232. Does briefly see the M4A2. I'm surprised that player hasn't actually gone for that kill, but I guess if he saw the M4A2 coming up the road here, the one with the AP shells, then you would definitely do a runner in that position. SDKFZ going to be forcing back that P38. Now we see another Pack 43 coming in. But yeah, once again, investment into Stug 4 definitely, in my personal opinion, would be very much more preferable. Because if you do end up killing the M4A3s, for example, then you leave yourself in a position where you have some mobile armor to take ground. And that's exactly what you need when you don't want it to be a draw and you want it to be a victory. And having a +2 right now would really give player the victory. Now this 232, it's not going to be able to do much. It's going to be forced back into the off-map of Walther. Gets out of line of sight of the AP shells. Going to be doing an absolute runner. Will it be running for long though? I'm not sure if Walther can follow through this off-map. I suppose he can because he has the extra armor to do so. Player's going to want to unload this Panzerschreck. Doesn't actually manage to. Panzerschreck goes down. 232. Get it out of there. Spitfire Mark 9 comes in with the bombing strike. Misses the mark as it did get pinned by the SDKFZ-72, which prevented that strike from being effective. Spitfire Mark 9 coming in with the bombing strike here. IG-18 is going to get ripped to shreds by a 50 cal. And I don't think it's really much chance for player to make too much more ground in the forest. I think for player, what he needs to do is get these Pack 43s, an M4A376 kill, and then just push through aggressively with the Stug 4 and take a bunch of ground. That's like one way to do it down here, because I think Walther's definitely low on armor at this point, which is not something you often say with an armored division, but since he's now relying on the last M4A376 that he probably has, and also he's bringing in now these 1-star M4A2 commands as opposed to the 2-star M4A2s, you can tell that he is definitely at the dregs of his division. Saying that, another M4A376 2-star is going to come in. Panzer IV, though, is on the other side of things, with the Nebelwerfer 42 hitting the M4A2 here. We could actually see a Panzer IV come out on top. Now the M4A2, the OP version with the off-map, it did go down. I think it was probably due to this Panzerschreck creeping to the edge of the tree line. This 232, however, it's going to try and get the better of the M4A2 here. There's going to be some recon brought in, but the 232 can pretty much shrug that off. Can he find the M4A2? P-38 Lightning comes in with a strafing run. I'm not sure he's going to find it. The M4A2 is going to constantly fall back though. No chance for that to stay alive. Maybe he's just going to go for the kill. He's got the side shot here. Okay, maybe not. Just front armor. It's not often you see armor that close to each other. But with the recon squad going down, the Sherman is going to surrender. And this game has just been absolutely incredible. And I mean, it's a bit late for a +2 now. Player has found it with the 59% territory lead, but it's not going to be a victory. It's still going to be a draw. He won't be able to get enough points in time. There is 2 minutes and 5 seconds left on the clock. Ju-87 coming in for the shots onto the M4A2. Does manage to find the kill. M4A3 has come to the top side. Cleaned up the 232 that was pushing aggressively again, but the Panzerschreck is in position. Is this going to be a dead M4A376? I think it is. Unless this Panzerschreck is mismicroed and the M4A3 manages to get past. Which it has managed to do. The M4A3 is clear of the mark. Unless it sits where it is. No, it's going to be fast moving to the centre of the forest now. Flamethrower squad managed to take out one of the Spearthroop. Stug 3 now engaging the M15. Doesn't manage to hit the mark. +1 back for player again. And I mean, it can't get much closer than this. We've had 2 games where each have shown their strengths. And both have ended with a negative KD in victory. And now we've got an actual draw where the points are so damn close. Stostrup here going to get the better of that AA. M4A3 in the meantime does manage to take out the SDKFZ 7-2, so trading AA pieces. Spitfires coming in to bomb these armoured units to allow his units to get the upper hand. We are going to be seeing 63% territory lead here for player. Can he push the +3 that he needs? Actually, you probably need a +5 to push enough points at this moment in order for this to not be a draw. But at the end, it looks like the player has got the upper hand. But as per the rules of the tournament, if it is a draw, we are going to a 4th game. And the 232 does manage to surrender the M4A376. That rocket strike just a little bit too late. That's going to be the end of the game. And after the full 40 minutes, we have ourselves a draw for the 3rd game of this series between player and Walther. And it may have cost me my voice for today, but it was totally worth it. That was incredible. It's just a pleasure to watch 2 players who are so close in terms of skill that we get these exciting games. Now, I do feel that Walther could have sealed the deal early on. If he'd gone for the play onto the Stug 3 instead of backing away from it, like taking the 4v1, I think he potentially could have or just won the game from there on by holding that bottom side spawn. It would have really handicapped player like so damn much that he wouldn't have been able to come back from it. So, yeah, Walther missed opportunities. Player, however, really took advantage of those, and it became such a chaotic game, and it seemed that player really thrived from that. He managed to get the job done with the infantry, where he managed to run Walther out of infantry into the late game, and although player was reliant on Spearthroop himself to hold his front line, he still had some Sturm Pioneers and some Stostrup left amongst those Spearthroop, that his frontline infantry was still a threat, whilst Walther's were all gone. Like, I'm really surprised how well that player dealt with the volunteers, honestly. But I think it mainly comes down to that one off-map vehicle on the top side that basically stopped those volunteers from taking control of the forest. But as mentioned before, pushing the forest in the late game on Bois de la Mort is one sure way to lose yourself a game, because you can't commit to an infantry engagement that late because it just takes too long, especially if you are behind in a game. So just bear that in mind if you guys are playing yourself. In that situation, Walther's much better off trying to push the open, like more open areas on the bottom side of the map, where player was really holding on with only Pack 40 for a very long time. And I think there was a moment where the M4A3 could have killed the Marder and the Pack 40, which it did later on, but could have done sooner before the Stug 4 was in play. So yeah, I think honestly, Walther could have had this one. He didn't. Player took advantage, brought it back to a draw, almost a victory for him. If he'd had just a +2 a little bit sooner, it would have been a victory. But as per the rules of the tournament, a draw means they will be playing a 4th game in a best of 3. That doesn't happen very often. But it's basically going to be whoever wins the next game will win. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that as much as I am. I know my voice isn't, but we'll sort that out when I get there. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.